Hey everyone, so there's this film, Dhurandhar 2, and it is causing a huge stir online. A lot of that is because of a viral video by YouTuber Dhurandhar. He makes this pretty big claim that it's not actually a movie at all. So today, we're going to dig into his analysis and see exactly what he means by that. And here it is. This is the central claim from Dhurandhar that really kicks everything off. He says this is BJP's most expensive election advertisement. I mean, wow. He comes right out of the gate with it, no holding back. This one sentence, it's the foundation for his entire argument. He's basically saying, forget entertainment, this is all about political persuasion. So, just so we're all on the same page, what we're doing here is unpacking his argument. We're going to walk through the evidence he lays out in his video. We'll look at the specific propaganda techniques he calls out, the facts he uses to challenge the film's story, and, well, the psychological effect he thinks it's having on all of us. All right, so part one. Is it a film or is it an ad? Now, you might think he'd start with a big action scene or a piece of dialogue, right? Nope. Rthies starts with the boring stuff, the fine print. He says the very first clue to what's really going on is hidden right there in the film's disclaimer. Okay, so you see the disclaimer on the screen. It looks pretty standard, right? Inspired by real events. Any resemblance purely coincidental. We've all seen that a million times. But Rathi, he doesn't see it that way. He calls it a legal cheat code. And here's why. He argues the filmmakers use real names, they use real news footage, but then they hide behind this disclaimer. It allows them to mix fact and fiction so seamlessly that for you, the viewer, it becomes almost impossible to tell where one ends and the other begins. To make this point crystal clear, he uses this great little analogy. He says, think about a ketchup bottle. The brand name on the front might be Fresh Tomato Ketchup, but that's just a name, right? It's marketing. The true nature of what's inside, the actual ingredients, could be totally different. And that's exactly what he's saying about this film. The label says cinema, but he argues its true nature, its core ingredient, is pure advertisement. Okay, so after tackling the disclaimer, Rathi dives deeper. He starts breaking down what he calls the propaganda playbook. This is where he gets into the nuts and bolts of the psychological tricks he claims the film is using to get inside the viewer's head. The very first tool in this playbook he talks about is something called emotional priming. Now that sounds a bit academic, but the idea is actually really simple. It's all about setting your mood. If they can make you feel a really strong emotion right at the start, anger, fear, then you're way more likely to just accept whatever message they feed you next. And he's got another great analogy for this one, the chili and sweet trick. Imagine this. First, the movie makes you eat a really hot chili. A brutal, super emotional scene of hatred. It burns your tongue, right? You're reeling from it. And then, while you're in that state, it offers you something sweet, the propaganda message. His point is, when your emotional taste buds are on fire, you'll gulp down that sweet message without even thinking twice. All right, the next technique he points out is, honestly, it's pretty sneaky. He zooms in on this specific line from the film. And get this, it's not said by a hero or a good guy. It's said by the main villain. So why does that matter? Why is that so effective? Well, Rathi breaks it down with a perfect pop culture example. He says it's like if you were watching an Avengers movie and Thanos suddenly said, ever since I saw Spider-Man, my hands have started shaking. Can you imagine? It would instantly make Spider-Man seem like the most powerful being in the universe. And that's the claim here. The film has the bad guys talk up the hero, which is a really clever way to build up his image without it looking like direct praise. Okay, so we've talked about the psychological stuff, but Rathi's argument isn't just about feelings and clever tricks. He then shifts gears and starts hitting us with hard data. This is the part where he puts the film's version of events side by side with what he says is the real-world evidence. Take this claim about foreign influence, for instance. The film apparently builds this whole story that the US and Pakistan's intelligence agency, the ISI, were trying to stop Narendra Modi from winning in 2014. But then Rathi just lays out his counterpoints one by one. He says, hang on, President Obama called to congratulate him on Election Day. The US ambassador actually met with him before he even won. And then the real kicker, he cites a former head of the ISI who said in 2018 that he preferred Modi as prime minister. So you've got a complete clash between the film's narrative and the facts he presents.
Next up, he tackles a big one, something a lot of you will remember very clearly: demonetization. According to Rathi, the film paints this picture of demonetization as this 4D chess move, a masterstroke, to cut off fake currency that was funding terrorists from Pakistan. And to sell this idea,
the film throws out this absolutely enormous number. It alleges that 60,000 crore rupees in fake money was flooding into India. I mean, that's a huge, terrifying figure. And it's meant to make you think, wow, okay, they had to do something drastic. But then, Rathi hits back with a number from the Reserve Bank of India's own report for that year. And the actual amount of fake currency they detected? 43 crore. Not 60,000. Just 43. The gap between those two numbers is just, it's mind-boggling. And for Rathi, this is the smoking gun. It's the core of his argument that the film's entire justification for demonetization is built on a massive exaggeration. And he doesn't just stop at the numbers. He also brings up all the other things about demonetization that the film apparently just leaves out. Things like the fact that 99.3% of the cash came right back to the banks, or the huge dent it put in the economy. And of course, the very real human cost. The people who died in those long queues. Things many people actually saw with their own eyes. And that brings us to the next big part of Rothy's analysis. He argues that real propaganda isn't just about the stories you tell. It's also about the stories you conveniently leave out. So he lays out this timeline of what he calls crucial omissions. For example, he says the film shows the Prime Minister making a surprise visit to Pakistan, which is great, but it completely skips the fact that just 8 days later, the Pathankot Air Base was attacked by terrorists from Pakistan. Or it will show the tragic Pulwama attack, but leaves out the detail that there were apparently 11 intelligence warnings beforehand. So his argument is simple. These aren't random mistakes. He claims they're deliberate choices made to create a very specific, very clean narrative of a government that's always in control. So we're getting to the climax of Rathy's argument now. He pulls all these different threads together to talk about what he believes is the single most dangerous and, frankly, disturbing psychological effect of this film. And that effect has a name: gaslighting. You've probably heard this term before. It's a really nasty form of psychological manipulation where somebody tries to make you doubt your own sanity, your own perception, your own memory of events. And here is the final crucial point. Rathi's argument is that this film is trying to gaslight an entire country. Think about it. It's taking these huge shared national experiences that millions of us lived through. I mean, who doesn't remember those endless ATM queues or the news of the Pulwama attack? And it's creating a new, polished version of those events. It's looking you right in the eye and saying, everything you remember, everything you saw and felt, that was wrong. This movie, this is the real story. And that just leaves you with this really unsettling question, doesn't it? What happens when a movie tries to tell you that your own memory is wrong? When mass media tries to rewrite a history that you yourself just lived through? It really makes you think about how fragile our sense of reality can be. And that brings us back to the quote that started it all, the one that perfectly wraps up Dhruv Rothy's entire critique. In his view, this isn't peak cinema, it's peak advertising. And that's the powerful idea we'll leave you with. Where exactly do we draw that line between telling a story and selling an agenda? Thanks for tuning in.